rate compared to that of health insurance. And MediShare really is the gold standard when it comes to healthcare sharing. It's been around more than 25 years. Members have shared more than $4 billion of each other's medical bills. Plus, MediShare is for you. It has saved its members billions by advocating on their behalf. Best of all, the typical savings for a family is around $6,000 a year. So if you think you're stuck with a high-cost health plan that doesn't have much to offer, think again. MediShare has a 98% customer satisfaction rating, and you are invited to be part of it. Call now. 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now for this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from a leading financial firm on maximizing your income in retirement. That's right, free. This free book reveals little-known truths about annuities in simple to understand terms that will help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. And it's free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report summarizing the rates and benefits from financially strong insurers.
Call 800-715-9880.
This report is sponsored by BioNTech and Pfizer. Come rain or shine. High winds or mild breezes. Blue skies or gray. It's a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Sponsored by BioNTech and Pfizer.
NerdWallet can help you compare and find the smartest credit cards to get there. Use NerdWallet to compare travel cards with bonus miles to go from working from home to relaxing far, far away. Then use NerdWallet to compare cashback cards and turn everyday purchases into a beachside cabana big enough for the whole family.
Or stand for the third tower.
She's the only boss you'll be answering to this week. Nice castle. Compare your way there. Find the smartest financial products for you on NerdWallet.
But when we just come out and say it, it feels like it falls a bit flat. So instead, we're going to have someone else say it. Because for some reason, when a random person talks about how great something is in a commercial, it's more believable.
I saved with a Progressive Home and Auto bundle.
And there you have it. I mean, I'm not sure why she's more believable than me, but either way, you get the point about the saving. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Like upgrading your kitchen with a top-rated Samsung kitchen suite, a smart range with air fry, a smart cooling system refrigerator, and a dishwasher with advanced quiet cycles. And with free delivery, the savings come to you. Shop in-store, online, or in the Home Depot app. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. U.S. only while supplies last. Valid 1/6 through 1/26/2022. Free delivery on orders of $396 or more.
A student at Cristo Rey High School. A teacher that always inspired me was Mr. Hernandez because he always came to class with a smile and ready to teach.
Some of the biggest unsung heroes are teachers. That's why La Chorelle Grove Subaru and Fuego FM are teaming up to thank a teacher.
If you're like me and you think you have the best teacher, nominate him or her today.
Give us the name, school where they teach, and tell us why you believe he or she should be Teacher of the Year for their chance to win a cash prize.
Visit fuegofm.com to nominate your teacher.
Including Instagram. Listen to Do You, a podcast from Cadence 13, now on the Odyssey app or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
So, we decided to sing about it.
Get so strong for your South Pole. Charlotte keeps your undies wetter than the North Pole. Shiny, hiney, a brand new year. Come to the Charmin, Happy New Year.
Charmin Ultra Strong just cleans better. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
An iDesign plus the Spruce storage bin starting at $12.98. Clean up your closet with the closet-made Brightwood Closet Kit starting at $119.98. Find it all at Lowe's Store and Save event in-store and on Lowe's.com. Lowe's, home to any budget, home to any possibility. Valid to 3/18. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. U.S. only. iDesign plus the Spruce storage bin. Pricing excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Here at Frank's Red Hot. Number 2, wings. Okay, it looks like that's it. Frank's Red Hot. I put that on everything.
Sure, we have 30 seconds to tell you that drivers who switch to Progressive could save big. But then what? Well, radio has been called theater of the mind, so let's tell a story with sound effects. Wow, it's like I was in the story. Almost makes me forget this was supposed to be about saving big with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Olay Body.
Nice.
That's why Wendy's new fries are ones you won't forget. Guaranteed to be hot and crispy, or we'll replace them. We're talking natural cut, skin-on fries, perfectly seasoned with a hint of sea salt. In fact, they're even preferred almost 2-to-1 over McDonald's. These are fries so hot and crispy, they beg a new question.
What would you like with your fries?
Try them today, only at Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, taste preference based on a national taste test by an independent research company.
Presents.
And don't you just love the smell of old books?
This is the library.
Sorry, ma'am. We're looking for a book titled That Customizes Your Car Insurance so you only pay for what you need.
I don't think we carry that, but check nonfiction.
He really does devour literature.
Please leave.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Jackpots echo throughout, and the thrill of it all is thunderous. Thunder Valley Casino Resort, where more than 3,000 slots, 100 table games, all new bingo and poker rooms, blend with award-winning dining, and AAA four-diamond luxury. Winning big makes a sound all its own. Thunder Valley Casino Resort. Live out loud.
Let's get ready to rumble! Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C Sports is the Charlton of Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to people who love sports. That's including me. I want to say today is a beautiful January the 25th, 2021. Round of the Ortiz, Baltimore, the Mini Beach. I'd like to welcome to the show. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. You can buy and test drive your Stone Trophy of Big C Sports Center, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also all around the world. Say whatever smartphone or smart device you have, all you got to do is say play Big C Sports Podcast, and it pops up on 23 applications. Really do appreciate that. Everything is so wonderful and hot in Northern California. It's so hot, I'm going to tell a stupid joke, but I'm going to say it just a little. Well, every joke I say is kind of stupid if you don't laugh. But maybe I can't tell the joke because I heard a comedian do it, and I couldn't do it the way he did it. But I want to say you can follow Big C Sports on 23 podcast applications all over the universe. Give that some praise. You can follow Big C Sports Podcast on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeart-Radio-Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Podchaser, and now I catch my breath. Come on, give that some praise. I can count to 10. Try it sometime. Don't knock me for trying to count to 10. You try it sometime, see how easy it is. You can follow Big C Sports on GeoSavan Podcast, Podtail Podcast, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, and then the 23rd podcast that just accepted Big C Sports is called allfeeds.ai. That's allfeeds.ai. I guess that's like the artificial intelligence form of podcasting. You just want to give that some praise. Come on, give that some praise. If we're not careful, artificial intelligence will take over the universe. Allfeeds.ai. Come on, man. All fair and level war. You can also follow Big C Sports streaming on 4 TV applications: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really do appreciate that. I just want to say, as I always do, I really love paying homage to my family legacy. I'm the only sports show in the universe that does that. It's my family legacy on my mother's side. The matriarch of the family called her Mamo. Just a wonderful great-grandmother. And I was able to grow up being able to see her and have her coffee. She's the first one in the universe to make Big C coffee. Allsfair and Love It War. And then my great-grandfather, Pop, the patriarch of the family, he was a former Negro League baseball player, and he would have been so teed off that they kept Barry Bonds out of the Hall of Fame. Some people are so jealous. But he's a former Negro League baseball player, just a great-grandfather, also known around the church as making the best moonshine in the universe. And let's get ready to rumble, okay, from him. Boys, get out of that barn. That's also okay from him. My And also, my grandmother, Madia, a seer, just an intelligent, wonderful woman who did a lot of things in life to help me also see things, even to this day. A seer, if that makes sense to you. My grandfather, Hezekiah, also another wonderful gentleman. Just really appreciate everything I learned. And then my beautiful mother, and I mean this too, my beautiful mother who helped start a Head Start program in Northern California, a food program to feed families to make sure that nobody, what do they say, no child left behind. My mother did that before the Bush administration, and no child was left behind. Also helped win the Little League Championship. But the universe, give Mama some praise. I say, come on. I say, give some praise. A Head Start program, a feeding program, and also a Little League Baseball Championship for the universe. Come on, that deserves a lot of praise. On my father's side, my grandfather, name is Albert Curry, very intelligent businessman, and also had 2 churches in Oakland, California. Built the 3rd one in Central California. Also had 2 gas stations in Oakland, California. Very hardworking young man. Really do appreciate that. My grandmother, Alberta Curry, helping my grandfather with the churches and also the service stations. Very, very wonderful person. Really do appreciate that. And then my father, retired Air Force fighter pilot and chief mechanic, making sure we can stay safe and always saying develop your mind to the highest extent. Could fix anything. All he needed was his mind and a couple of tools, and really do appreciate that. And then I want to say my brother Todd with his bombastic points, sound like thunder and lightning when Tom is speak. Really do appreciate that. I love paying honor to my beautiful daughter Daisy, a beautiful woman, and she graduated with 2 degrees with honors from a major university and 3.5. Really do appreciate her, and also would help me set up when coaches would come to the West Coast to set up for Big C Sports. Really do appreciate that. My very handsome son Malcolm, very intelligent, a college student, and just knows NBA inside and out, gives me stats for NBA, and also just knows a lot about what's going on in the world of sports, sends me stats for NBA. Really do appreciate that. And then also a Big C with all of his wealth of knowledge. Give everybody some praise. Come on, everybody. Everybody clap your hands. I wish everybody love, peace, and soul. We all just appreciate life is a gift. You got to enjoy it every single day. You know, I want to also say what my grandfather used to say when he came home from the church with all of his friends. And sometimes people attribute this to a boxing promoter, but my grandfather would always go into that barn with a couple of the guys from the church, and he'd say, "Let's get ready to rumble." They would all clap and have a good time. It's amazing how things ring a bell as you get older in life. I tell you, it's funny. I say, welcome to the show, Big C Sports, SP nominated Big C Sports Podcast. And I'm telling you, anyone try this. No scripts. I know that's painfully obvious at times. No 3-way teleprompters. I'm not arguing with anybody but myself at times. No producer in my ear, just a little bit of earwax in the earplug. I think I'm the only show that always honors God. I walk by faith, not by sight. I produce the show. I direct all the topics. I broadcast the shows. All the sound effects that are done by the agency, really do appreciate that. We could all use more laughter in our life. And I want to, oh my God, I got a tribute to Jesse Jackson coming up in a moment. But I provide the stats, the storytelling, the play-by-play. Oh my God, can you believe this? The pitch swung on, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend. And they kept Barry Bonds out of the Hall of Fame. Can you believe that? Some people hate so much on greatness. All fair never were. I upload the show. It goes out to 23 podcast applications all over the universe, and then 4 TV platforms. I never missed a show since Big C Sports started back in September 12, 2015. And I really feel I'm the only sports show in the universe that honors God. One of my favorite scriptures growing up in the Bible is Genesis chapter 13, verse 15. It said, "For all the land that thou seest will I give you, and thy seed forever." And the book of James chapter 4, verse 2 said, "You have not because you ask not." If you want something, just ask and give asking some praise. Come on, give it praise. Give it just some praise. Not just when you need something. I ain't preaching. I'm just saying. Ain't. I gotta watch about that with folks saying ain't. I'm not preaching. Your Veterans Crisis Hotline for all the veterans that serve this country. I heard a commercial one time, and it said, would you be willing to give up your limbs and your eyesight to protect this country? And people say, heck no. Well, a lot of the veterans have. Even some have sacrificed the ultimate sacrifice. But there are those who still have PTSD. just dealing with issues to keep us all safe. And we have a Veterans Crisis Hotline. I didn't create it. It's created by the administration. It's been out there for many years, but they are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know anyone going through issues, doesn't have to be a veteran, but it is created for veterans and their loved ones. Pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net and give the Veterans Crisis Hotline some praise. Come on, give it praise. Give it praise, praise, praise. We all have our freedom because somebody sacrificed for us. I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see our app pop up all over the universe. Really do appreciate that. And then I want to say also I'm very happy to be affiliated with ValleyHomesWeekly.com, a real estate show in California featuring real estate properties in California. Also, the NationalRealEstatePost.com. Wherever you are in your neck of the woods, if you want to know what's going on in real estate in your neck of the woods, go to the NationalRealEstatePost.com. That's the NationalRealEstatePost.com. If you want to know what's going on in mortgage rates, rates are creeping up a little bit. Go to MortgageDailyNews.com. That's MortgageDailyNews.com. And you'll find people that talk even faster than I do, if that's even possible. I heard a guy talking on the radio the other day. He was talking so fast, he sounded like those disclaimers that they go at the end of the show. Or sometimes you go to the bargain shops and they get 5,000, 3,000, 7,000. You know, the car auctions. I said, man, this guy talks faster than me. Anyway, if you think I talk fast, go to a car auction. They talk a lot faster. Also, want to make sure that really appreciate the affiliation with over 250 lenders for unsecured credit. They fund between $10,000 and $400,000. Funds can be used for any purpose: business, startups, real estate investments, repairs, renovations, working capital, whatever you need primarily, debt consolidation, student loans. I really believe the Biden administration, they should write off all student loans retroactive to 2000. That would be a sea change for his administration. And the minimum requirements, of course, 650 credit score and no new lines of credit the last 6 months, 27,000 annual income, and then 2 years consistent income, all spread and level war. When the banks say no, give the Big C team a chance to say yes to you, and you can get that some praise. Come on, y'all, get it praise, praise, praise. I love saying praise. Man, I got a funny thing. I don't know if it's funny or not, but it was a joke. I think I already told it, but the pastor, he said that God spoke to him, and he was telling the congregation that God spoke to him, and he was trying to raise, believe it or not, God spoke to him, and he was trying to raise $1 million so they could build another church. So he gets up to the pulpit, and he tells the congregation, he said that God spoke to him, and God told him to raise $1 million so he could build a new church. And, people started saying, oh, yeah, isn't God good? Yeah, isn't God good? And so he says that any one of you who have a check for $1 million, stand up. God has been talking to you. Stand up. God's been talking to you. So would you believe about 9,000 people in the church stood up? And the pastor goes, oh, my God, I'm going to get that $1 million. And he said, does anyone have anything to say? Speak now, forever hold your peace. 9,000 people in unison said, yeah, we spoke to God too, and he asked us to ask the church for $1 million. Get that some praise. I thought that was funny. The pastor passed out. They speak to the same God. I think that's funny. Oh, Lord, they speak to the same God. They asked the church for $1 million too. Oh, he's all fair. I thought that was funny. At the same time, for those of you out there looking for $1 million, oh my goodness, sports betting is big in the United States. The NFL ratings are off the hook. You got to be careful because betting is off the hook also. There's so much money being made in sports betting by the bookies, not necessarily in winnings. So if you're going to go out there and bet, make sure you don't bet more than you can afford to lose, because those buildings in Las Vegas are not built by paying out money. They're built by, like a vacuum cleaner, sucking money in. Give sucking money in some praise. I said, come on, give it some praise. like a vacuum cleaner, sucking so much money in Las Vegas. Everybody thinks they're going to win. This segment is also sponsored by Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, 100% honest game. Sports fans, when you're watching the big game, you want to eat the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with all this exotic meat. It also goes great with the Big C coffee. Remember, I said it here is coming for the spring of 2022. The best part of waking up is Big C in your cup. Give that some praise. It comes in one size extra large. We don't have any size small. Sometimes you're driving down the highway and you see those big tractors on the highway. It says extra wide load. Like the Big C coffee, extra large. That's the only size it comes in. If it's too much for you, take some and save it for tomorrow. I'm drinking some right now. Gives me has a lot of makes me laugh. The best part of waking up is Big C in your cup. I'm going to talk about some things that have come up today. As we all know, football is king, and there's a lot of things that happen in the world of Major League Baseball. But we're going to, before we go, what I like to say, the pitch swung on, hit deep, right field, that ball, home run. Say hello to my little friend. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When I come back, we're going to talk about the Hall of Fame induction. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we're back on the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 23 podcast applications all over the universe and 4 TV applications. Really do appreciate that. When you think about life, is funny at times. You can see things with your own eyes, and some people would say you didn't. No, that's not what you saw. But the 2022 Baseball Hall of Fame ballot came out today, and you have, obviously, if you know about it now, Barry Bonds didn't get in, neither did Clemens or Schilling, and Alex Rodriguez, David Ortiz, they got in. Ortiz, I don't understand why he's more popular than Barry Bonds, but the 2022 Baseball the Hall of Fame class was released initially in November. The 30-player ballot is headlined by some huge names, and their 10th and final year on the ballot, Curt Schilling, the great home run slugger Barry Bonds, and the strikeout king Roger Clemens. Was, as you know, when you think about it, everybody has their own thoughts about those players, and you have Alex Rodriguez, David Ortiz. The results of the vote, they revealed, and people have their own thoughts. But think about going back. In order to gain enshrinement into the Baseball Hall of Fame, you have to be perfect. You can't swear, and you can't do too many push-ups. But players need to be named on the list of at least 75% of the turn-in ballots. Count all the votes, if that makes sense to you. But when you think about it, in order to avoid falling off the ballot, a player needs to get at least 5%, and players are eligible to remain on the ballot a maximum of 10 annual voting cycles. So a couple of there should be Hall of Famers that are no longer going to be able to get there. There's 17 holdover candidates in addition to 13 newcomers on the ballot. And newcomers are players who spent at least 10 seasons in the Major League Baseball and then have been retired for 5 years and were chosen by the Hall of Fame to be added to that ballot. But it's also about a popularity thing, as we know most things in life are. When I think about A-Rod or a Big Papi, going down to Jimmy Rollins, Mark Teixeira, other notable players, Joe Nathan, Jonathan Applebaum, and then you have Tim Lincecum, Jake Peavy, Carl Crawford, Prince Fielder. You think about what it really means, though. Like, what does it really mean to get chosen into the Baseball Hall of Fame? Does it mean that you were or were not as great as some people say you were or were not? I think sometimes we can get so jaded by wanting to like people. And if people like you, they do things for you. If they don't like you, sometimes they talk about you. My pastor always talks about that. They're going to talk about you. But the Red Sox legend David Ortiz was not a household name. Great player, yes, for Boston, but not a household name. Was a sole player voted into the Hall of Fame. by the Baseball Writers Association of America. Only in America. Making it in his first year on the ballot. The announcement came earlier today, Major League Baseball Network. He was named on 307 of 394 ballots. That's 78%. Called Big Papi. Elected to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. Really? Ortiz joins the 6 men voted in by the golden days and early baseball era committees back in December. It's amazing how you can look at things with your own two eyes and look at some of the players who did not get in. Number 1, Barry Bonds. Got 66% of the ballot in his final year. Roger Clemens got 65% of the ballot in the final year. Some of these guys are known for, they've been caught up in the allegations of the steroid era. Allegations. I think about Sammy Sosa. He got 18% of the votes in the final year. Now, I remember growing up out here in Northern California, watching Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco and Reggie Jackson and Vida Blue, Catfish Hunter, watching some great baseball players, Ricky Henderson. But I would say the very best one was Barry Bonds. And for him not to get in, it's about more, it's like payback for the people that didn't like Barry Bonds. Not because he wasn't great. Maybe because he had an ego. A lot of athletes have egos. But I just wonder if anyone lost a little bit of respect for the baseball writers today. Because for Barry Bonds, think about this. Barry Bonds went to Sarah High School. And he went to Arizona State. Tom Brady went to Sarah High School. And Tom Brady went to the University of Michigan. We know he's made his career with the New England Patriots and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, winning Super Bowls with all of them, or both teams. 6 with the Patriots and 1 with the Buccaneers. You know, Tom Brady was suspended by the NFL for Deflategate. Now, I may be wrong, but Barry Bonds was never suspended. He was accused. Is there anyone in the sports universe that believes that Tom Brady would not be a first ballot Hall of Famer, even though he was suspended? And they went to the same school, Sarah High School in San Mateo, over in the peninsula, by the airport, San Francisco International. Last I checked, Barry Bonds was never suspended. He was only accused. And Tom Brady's called the GOAT. Barry Bonds hit more home runs than anyone in the history of the baseball universe. But think about it. At the entrance to the National Baseball Hall of Fame, a sign hangs to help guide museum goers to see all the history. And the first paragraph talks about how players are in the hall for their accomplishments. The next paragraph says, other areas of museum address the totality of their careers. The final paragraph ties it all together. The National Baseball Hall of Fame and museum's mission is to preserve history, which is what everybody really should preserve history. Think about that. And it's all throughout the museum. So you think about it, if the Hall of Fame's mission is to be factual, if it's not factual, then why even honor it? Barry Bonds, in many people's opinion, not just mine, the greatest hitter in the history of the baseball universe. Worthy of induction, did not reach the 75% threshold in his final year on the writers' ballots. Why? I thought, going back to the Baseball Hall of Fame, the first paragraph talks about how players are in the Hall for their accomplishments, 762 home runs. And the next paragraph says other areas of the museum address the totality of their careers. Barry Bonds arguably is the top of the list when it comes to people, no matter what you're doing, driving in your car across the Bay Bridge, if you're in Times Square in New York City, you're walking across the Golden Gate Bridge or driving across it, if you're downtown Los Angeles, if you're in the Midwest, if you're in Missouri, the Arts, the gateway to the West, wherever you are, people in Florida would stop when Barry Bonds was up to bat. Even the people that hate him and the people that should lose their ability to vote people in. You don't have to cast a vote. Tom Brady was suspended for a Deflategate, went to the same high school as Sarah. Barry Bonds never suspended. He was accused. So the Hall of Fame should have a little bit of egg on their face today. For the past 9 years, at least 1/3 of the baseball writers who look into such matters, they found Barry Bonds' use of allegedly performance-enhancing drugs to be disqualifying, even though he was never punished for the allegation. You ever been accused of something you didn't do? Anybody? Has anyone ever been accused of something you did not do? Innocent until proven guilty. Supposedly. He's the only one that hit 762 home runs of all the great baseball players in Major League Baseball. There's some great players in Negro League Baseball. They didn't count all of their accomplishments. But Barry Bonds being rejected by mainstream media, to me, it epitomizes how all the decades later, baseball is still dealing with the PED perception. And to me, I think it's a shame that you can punish someone for not being found guilty by the courts. People say, oh, no, he must have done something. Look at how big he was. Look at how in the world did he get so big? And how did he hit so many home runs? Tom Brady was suspended for Deflategate. Said he didn't do it. NFL found him guilty of it. Suspended him 4 games and fined the New England Patriots. So it's difficult to pinpoint the hearts of people, but no one can deny the 762 home runs. And if he was in the era where baseball ballparks got smaller and athletes got bigger and ratings were high because people wanted to see the home run. Girls love the long ball. But when you think about it, just being accused of something can cost you an induction to the Hall of Fame, even though from sea to shining sea, people lined up to see him hit. The Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays talked about that. Or that the commissioners who's encompassed the entirety of the steroid era, Bud Selig himself, is enshrined. How the hell he get in if he's the overseer of all of it? He's in. That generation of players before Bonds, including Hall of Famers, they popped amphetamines. Some of them did other things that got their nose dirty, if that makes sense to you. White lines weren't the only thing that they saw on the baseball diamonds. And other honor with the Hall of Fame, including multiple racists. I guess you can be a racist and a bigot and a sexist, and that doesn't exclude you from mainstream media. I guess a lot of them grew up in households that way, so that's nothing new to them. So when you think about that, multiple racists in the Hall of Fame, domestic abusers, people who beat the crap out of their wives and girlfriends, even a player who resigned from the Hall of Board of Directors after a woman levied credible sexual misconduct allegations. I mean, you would think about it. But you think about a guy who hit the most home runs in the history of Major League Baseball. They're saying, nope, not getting in. That's the only enmity they have. Is saying you did not see what you saw, but you could be a racist, a bigot, a sexist, homophobe, and you'll get in. And some men who even were accused of sexual assault had to later resign from the board of directors. But being Caucasian, oftentimes people turn a blind eye to it. It's called the 1619 Project. But you think about it too. The campaign and the hate against Barry Bonds is spanned for decades in mainstream media. Most of them Caucasian, and most of them hated the fact that he was going to break a record that was held by Babe Ruth, which also, according to some, is a person of color. But when you think about Major League Baseball and the blind eye that Selig, come on, Selig got in, but not the guys he's watching over? And his office and the games, the PED issue. Think about the steroid wave. Who was at the top of it? Selig, he's in. Oh, he's white, though. As are most of the writers. Race doesn't matter. I have a dream. Yeah, everybody has a dream. TV got bigger. Money got bigger. Everybody got bigger. TV deals went through the roof. The revenue grew. But they were vilifying the same people that helped it grow. Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, Clemens. You made money off of these guys, and now you're saying what they did didn't happen, but none of those owners or the league was going to give that money back. Congress even made some scapegoats. They can't even pass a Voting Rights Act. Those good old boys. But Barry Bonds, a lot of vitriol aimed toward Barry Bonds. And even Selig filmed that Bonds was breaking the home run record of the eminent late Hank Aaron. Wanted to put an asterisk next to Bonds' name. The final total, 762 single-season record, 73, fall in the 2007 season when Bonds, at age 43 years old. How old is Brady, 44? One of the best hitters on the planet in the history of the universe. Not a single team offered him a contract. At 43. Isn't Brady 44? You know, the guy who got suspended for Deflategate. Isn't he 44? How's the mainstream media treating Tom Brady? One's white, one's black. They both went to Sarah High School. You know, the baseball color barrier? Why was there a barrier? Who created the barrier? It wasn't black men. There are often times where people are so disparaging against black men in private, but they'll turn a blind eye to a white man who was suspended from football for 4 games. Tom Brady, they went to the same high school. Barry Bonds was not suspended from baseball. He was accused. Isn't that something? So the message to Cooperstown is saying we're going to be, as much as we can, showing enmity against the greatest hitter in the history of baseball. You think about that too. Voters, PED users, whoever they are, among the writers who decide such things, there was confusion. You have writers that are part of the Hall of Fame deciding who gets in, got their own jacked up backgrounds with drugs and other issues too. They know it's true. I just told you about one of them that was accused of a sex crime. They kicked him out eventually. I just think it's a slap on baseball that's trying to figure out how do we make the game better. You gotta realize that. The simple truth, Barry Bonds is a story of an era that grew baseball financially, exponentially, but he was also hated by the mainstream. And he's a player whose physical gift, they had no limits, from Sarah High School to Arizona State to the Pittsburgh Pirates and the San Francisco Giants. Helped build the new Oracle Ballpark, AT&T Park, Pac-Bell Park at the time. I remember just going to games and covering baseball at the old Candlestick Park when Barry Bonds played there. I was keeping stats for television when the Philadelphia Phillies came out to San Francisco. Was my first game, and Barry Bonds was playing for the Giants. I remember the old Candlestick Park. It was always cold. But you think about baseball, it cast in on the money, and TVs got better. The stadium, everybody built a new stadium, and now they want to punish the guys that made it happen. I want to talk more about that because, to me, baseball's trying to tell you that you didn't see what you just saw. I'm going to take the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. The pitch swung on, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friend. The words of former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back. All right, we are back on the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on 20 applications all over the universe. I want to get into baseball's home run king, 762 home runs. He won 7 MVP awards, walked more than any baseball player in the history of the baseball universe. The most feared batter in the history of the game, right here in San Francisco. Set the single season home run record of 73. He redefined hitting for the whole history of Major League Baseball. But he's in an era where PEDs and steroid use, that people built new stadiums to come see guys hit yard. But you can be the hero and the villain, and that the idea that Major League Baseball is still dealing with a lockout for some reason. But you can't knock the fact that he was able to do great things in the National League, from Pittsburgh Pirates to the San Francisco Giants from 1986 to 2007. The National Baseball Hall of Fame needs to induct Barry Bonds, but they said no. There's so many simple solutions. One that would satisfy the Hall. Make everybody perfect. But they chose not to. They should go back and find every person that's considered racist and kick them out of the Hall also. No, racism's acceptable in America. So is sexism. Because they have guys in there who were accused of that. And you think about, baseball's not a perfect sport, and there are no perfect people. Anyone can judge anyone, especially behind that person's back. I think what most black men will recognize, as you grow older, there will be people who will smile in your face and they will stab you when you're not there. And they will smile in your face, but they will stab you. I'm not saying it's Emmett Till, but Jesse Jackson talked about keep hope alive. And a lot of slain civil rights leaders, from Dr. King, having a dream that people are judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. But when has mainstream media ever held themselves to that high standard? They haven't. I'm not saying this just for Barry Bonds. When you look at black men are 10 times to 1 more likely to be accused of a crime in the United States of America in 2021. Still trying to get a Voting Rights Act passed that guarantees everyone to have the right to vote, primarily people of color. Isn't that something? Black men are 7 times more likely to be accused of a crime by mainstream society. People think, I thought we were talking about baseball. I'm talking about facts, though. We can't run from it. Every bigot knows their bigotry in their household, behind closed doors. And some of those same bigots will say, I can't believe he used PEDs. They never saw him use it. But they hide their bigotry with a smile on their face. And many of these people work in media. I know it. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. And I've heard it with my own 2 ears. The N-word, when people thought I wasn't there. I can't believe this uppity N. Hey, how you doing, bro? Hey, brother. I've seen it. People trying to destroy black men who've done nothing other than be accused. I've seen that too. So the closest thing to some of the writers who wanted some clarity on how to handle the PED users ever came from the Hall of Fame. Even some emails by Joe Morgan, who was beaten up at one time by the LAPD. You know, great Joe Morgan, beaten up for being black. He also blasted out to voters by the Hall of Fame is special. And he said that steroid users don't belong here. I wonder if he was thinking that when the LAPD was kicking his butt for being black. Joe Morgan was a great player, but he was speaking for the good old boys. What a shame. 6 years before that, when Bonds was drawing 36% of the vote, you think about so many other players that had all of their junk. Just a lot of them. I mean, baseball is not perfect. It's just not. I think about Mark McGwire being very candidate, forced the Hall of Fame to reckon with the question, think about it, what that would dominate for 15, 20 years. Voters honoring PED users, no, but you can be a racist and a sexist, and they'll get you in there. The character clause. Racism and sexism is not considered anathema to the Hall of Fame. But being accused of PEDs is. And Bud Selig got his butt in there, and he oversaw all of it as they built new stadiums. No matter what you feel about it, the Baseball Writers Association of America, they said it's not going to happen. Not on my watch. I'll never, Governor Wallace, I'll never allow integration into schools. Segregation now, segregation forever. Yeah, remember that? There are a lot of people that look like a lot of the writers of the Baseball Hall of Fame look just like them, clapping and cheering. Yeah, there you go. All's fair in love and war. People can have their own thoughts about it. I'm just one person with an opinion. But when I think about the Cooperstown with all the imperfect men that are in the Hall of Fame and who put them there, for the most part, people who look just like them, and for the most part, people that made baseball a segregated sport. And they have this paragon of virtue mentality to say who can get in and who can't get in. What a joke. I even think about Harold Baines, who did not have Hall of Fame numbers, but did have enough friends on the committee to end up in Cooperstown. There's just a lot of stuff about baseball. People can have their own thoughts about Pete Rose. You know, whatever Pete Rose did or didn't do. Can't take away his accolades. Thinking about all the time that people thought about baseball. It's not just black and white. It doesn't always happen that your accolades are going to be acknowledged. Decades later, Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose remain what they call a pariah and a stain on baseball. With Bonds and Clemens and Curt Schilling, the Hall is really saying, we don't want you around. You know, two of them for steroids and the other for some heinous things. They never kept out racists in the past. You can be a racist in a lot of businesses and still get honored. I'll never forget, I told you I used to work baseball games at Candlestick Park for the San Francisco Giants when I got into media back in the latter part of 96, 97. And there were some guys, Caucasian, oftentimes had some of the most egregious things to say about men of color, and then trying to lick their butt when they saw them in person. Hey, can I have your autographs? Can I have your autograph, please? And then having some of the most egregious things to say about black men. I've seen it with my own two eyes and heard it with my own two ears. But it doesn't stop them from getting into the media, and it doesn't stop them from deciding who gets to vote into the Hall of Fame. I challenge every person, Caucasian person, ask yourself if what you say in closed doors was made public, would people still think highly of you? I know there's a lot of bigots in the media. I've worked with some of them. And they knew it too. Same as in Hollywood. There's only one black coach in the National Football League in 2022. One. Liberty and justice for all. It takes all of us. All of us for what? For what, really? I'm not thumping for Barry Bonds. I just believe that no one can deny. No one can deny. The pitch swung on here deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. The girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. And Barry Bonds hit it deep 762 times. We'll take the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 23 podcast applications all over the universe and 4 TV applications. Got some NBA basketball for you on a beautiful Tuesday, January 25th. 2022. Would you believe the Raiders played in a Super Bowl where they beat, I believe, Philadelphia January 25th? It's amazing how now we got another 3 weeks for the Super Bowl, how times changed. Of course, playing more games now, but it's just ironic when the Raiders did that. But at the same time, tonight's schedule is Denver at Detroit. Game's already in the way. Charlotte is at Toronto. The LA Clippers at Washington. New Orleans is at Philadelphia. Sacramento Kings at Boston. The LA Lakers at Brooklyn. What a game tonight on TNT. And taking on the Nets. The San Antonio Spurs at the Houston Rockets. And the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Golden State Warriors here in beautiful San Francisco tonight on TNT. That tips off in just a few minutes. And then Minnesota at Portland also at 7 p.m. A tip-off from the West Coast. All's fair in love and war. What I will say to Barry Bonds or anybody else who did not get elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame, you get the Big C burger at least. It's a tasty burger and it comes with all those exotic meats. It tastes better in your mouth than it does in your hand. Also, you get the Big C coffee. The best part of waking up is Big C in your cup. You got one class extra large. It may not be the Hall of Fame, but it's a Hall of Fame coffee and a Hall of Fame burger. You know, also in the world of sports, there's a lot of things that have happened in sports. And for NFL football and other NFL, AFC and the NFC championship are coming up this week. And Kansas City, Missouri the Chiefs taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. And in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium, you have the Los Angeles Rams taking on the San Francisco 49ers. And the Niners are looking for their 7th win in a row over the Rams. But news that came out of the South in the NFL football universe, New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton decides to put his career on pause after 16 seasons with that franchise. And he announced that he wants to step away today, and obviously one of the better coaches in the NFL. And he stressed multiple times that the retirement is not the right word. He just wants to go on pause. He's only 58 years old, doesn't plan to coach another team this year. That's not where his heart is right now. And since the last 3 years remaining in his contract, the Saints will have to agree to trade compensation if he wants to coach another team. And to me, it seems like he may end up somehow for Jerry Jones with the Dallas Cowboys, just a thought. But he came to the New Orleans Saints in 2006, and they had the 3rd worst winning percentage in the NFL from 1967 to 2005 with 1 playoff win. But Payton turned the franchise around, highlighted by leading the franchise to his only Super Bowl victory in 2009. And he's a great coach, and obviously a lot of players will play for him. He just has to decide if he wants to come back or not. But when you think about what he has done, he's had 10-win seasons 9 times since 2006. The franchise only had 10-win seasons 5 times from 1967 to 2005. 1 playoff win from 1967 to 2005. Under Payton, 9 playoff wins. No Super Bowls from 1967 to 2005, and they got 1 under Payton. They were also robbed, I think, of 1 when the Rams went down in New Orleans. We all know what happened with that. But when you think about him, he's just been a great coach. I think if you could imagine what the offense would be like if he were to head coach the Dallas Cowboys with Jerry Jones. But that's just my own thinking. Obviously, they have who they want right now, McCarthy, down there for the Dallas Cowboys, and Jerry Jones feels that McCarthy will help him win the Super Bowl. But in real talk, if he had a chance to bring in Payton, you can keep McCarthy around on the staff. Maybe he can help you on the yacht. But Jerry Jones not getting any younger. Nobody is. He has enough money. You can sell that 400-foot yacht and bring in Sean Payton because he would make your offense flourish. That's my opinion. Also, for the Baltimore Ravens, they're telling that John Harbaugh that they're looking to extend his contract also. It may have already happened, but the Ravens are nearing an extension with Coach John Harbaugh, also a Super Bowl championship coach John Harbaugh, and the team officials currently in talks with Harbaugh's agent. May have already happened, but he's 59 years old, so these guys are south of 60, and one stepping away, the other's getting an extension. And when you think about it, he's in his final year of the 4-year deal that he signed back in 2019, and he led the Ravens to playoff berths in 9 of his 14 seasons. That's a lot of success. Got to the franchise to his 2nd Super Bowl title in 2012 when the lights went out down in New Orleans, of all places. A career record, including playoffs, 148 wins, 96 losses, wins 61% of his games, and that is 5th best among winning percentages among active coaches with at least 90 games. So he's a great fit for that team. I also want to just go back into college football a little bit. Ex-Ravens coach Belichick. When Billick joins Edwards at the Arizona State Sun Devil staff, so that's going to help also Arizona State as they try to play better football in the Pac-12 South. I don't know if they're going to get over yet, but Arizona State's a good team. They have a lot of, I guess you could say, experience on their coaching staff, and that's going to help with the Arizona State football program. There's so much going on in the world of sports. I know NFL football is the king, and so many people are looking forward to this football kickoff and the AFC and NFC championship games coming up over the weekend. And the way I look at it, with Kansas City, I believe the point spread is now 7. It just went north of 7, so maybe 7.5. Who knows what it's going to be by kickoff. Obviously, Honey Badger has to come back. He was knocked out of the game against Buffalo with a concussion. And this Cincinnati team, they were able to beat Kansas City earlier in the year, just a few weeks ago, but they were down double digits twice, and Kansas City took their foot off the gas, if that makes sense to you. I don't think they'll take their foot off the gas in this game. Anything's possible but it would have to be a monumental failure for Kansas City not to carry the home field advantage into Super Bowl 56, all fair in Leavenworth. And the game that I can't wait to see, Bang Bang Niner game, making their way down Interstate 5 in Southern California. SoFi South is what they're calling it up in Northern California. It's hard to beat a team 7 times in a row, but if you run the ball 35 to 40 times, you'll win. So it's up to Shanahan if he wants to play that physical game and punch the Rams in the mouth. Hey, there's gold in them there hills. If you see a lot of the 49er fans, they like to barbecue and they like to tailgate outside of SoFi Stadium. It's a beautiful stadium right down by Great America theme park in Santa Clara. And one of the favorite dishes that they serve at Levi Stadium is lamb. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 23 podcast applications all over the universe. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Bodini Brown. He loved lamb too. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young man, rumble, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? Ali would say, I'm so pretty, I'm so handsome, I can't possibly be beat. All these Big C burgers make me light on my feet. And the Big C coffee makes me rumble, young man, rumble. That's why I'm always rumbling. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.